ghosts, goblins, gals, and ghouls.
This is What Happens in the Crypt, a podcast where we take a deeper look into horror movies, stories, and the things that go bump in the night.
This is not just another horror movie podcast. We didn't make this to go scene by scene and give you a 2-hour synopsis of a 90-minute movie. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not what we want to do.
What Happens in the Crypt is a podcast where we give you a deeper look into the movie, some behind-the-scenes stuff, where to watch it, if you should watch it, how is it made, what is the lore based on, and that type of stuff.
Today we're talking about the fantastic B-movie series, Subspecies.
Okay, so I'm Christy.
And I'm Sean.
And we are in the Detroit area, and we're going to be covering big movies, small movies, local stuff, things that you hopefully have heard of, maybe some things that you haven't.
And if you haven't heard of it, hopefully you can check it out.
So we wanted to provide a content warning for any of the movies or books or whatever we decide to cover. And in this movie, there is some imagery of kidnapping.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Okay.
And we're going to try to include this in every episode as best we can.
Mm-hmm.
So Subspecies is a series that came out from 1991 to 1998. This is a direct-to-video series by Full Moon Features and was directed by Ted Nicolau, who also directed the movies Dungeon Master and Terror Vision.
We haven't talked about either of those, right? We haven't looked into them at all.
I've seen both of them before.
Oh, have you? Okay. Mm-hmm. So the series follows 3 college students studying in Romania, where all of the movies are actually filmed. In the first movie, they're researching the folklore of the region, and they quickly learn that all of the folk tales are not just tales. So we follow the 3 as they are being terrorized by the seemingly forgotten Radu Vladislas. And the sequels follow Michelle, who ends up being the main character, as she learns how to live as a member of the undead and tries to break free of Radu and his fingers.
It's crazy. So long fingers.
The fingies.
The fingies. We highly recommend you watch the series before listening, and it's actually free on Tubi.
One of the great things about this movie is the entire production was shot on location in Romania. So that means that they actually had to hire not only local actors, but random locals.
This is actually the first American movie that was shot in Romania. It's
really cool too, because the castles are real, the ruins, all of the imagery, it doesn't look like cheap props, background stuff, because it's actually like a castle.
And shout out to the YouTube channel Subspecies World. If you want to check that out, you can actually see a lot of the behind the scenes videos of the production. So
our little disclaimer is that moving forward from this point on, since we kind of went through the synopsis already, we are going to be talking about the effects, the behind the scenes, the makeup, and a bunch of other stuff, but it will be full of spoilers. So if you're concerned about the integrity of the movies, go back and watch them.
The series is actually called Subspecies because of the creatures that Radu can create from his fingers. We like to call them the Fingy Boys.
The Fingies.
The Fingies. He can rip off, cut off, I don't know what he's doing, but he's tearing off the tips of his fingers, and he makes these little red demons that look like they were made for a PlayStation 1 game. They don't look great, but that really adds to it. And one of the reasons why they look like that is originally they were supposed to be local Romanian men in rubber suits.
That would have been amazing, though. That would have changed the whole thing if it was real humans.
Yeah. So one of the few things they actually built sets for were the little subspecies creatures. They built in large sets for real actors to run on. But then those got cut completely. There is not a single shot of them. And all that we're left with is these beautiful little stop motion creatures.
Yeah, and so the other thing that was really fun with the actual Subspecies is when you watch this movie, Radu's hands are like obscenely gigantic, and it's they're just ridiculous.
He wears finger prosthetics.
Like each individual finger. And then after the first movie, that was so grueling for the main actor, whose name is
Anders Hall.
Anders. The whole makeup process was so grueling for him that they ended up doing gloves instead. But in this first movie, he really has these gigantic mitts that the subspecies come out of.
But hey, he still sword fights all the same with them.
No problems.
The first thing that these little subspecies demons actually do for Radu is another great B-series trope of this movie is that there's always cages exactly where they need to be, falling from the ceiling. So Radu gets trapped in a cage and he rips his fingers off to steal the bloodstone from his father.
Yeah, and the bloodstone is a really cool idea that doesn't necessarily translate throughout the movies, but it's essentially a stone that is filled with the blood of the saints. And in the opening of the first movie, Radu murders his father, who is the vampire king, in order to possess the bloodstone. It's really hokey looking in the first movie.
And so is his dad.
And so is his dad.
Looking like Sir Isaac Newton, looking like he's...
I think I said Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, he's looking like he's one of the founding fathers with his powdered wig.
Yeah, it's not a great look, but he's the vampire king.
I guess he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. So in the first movie, the bloodstone is super low budget. It really is just, it looks like a ring pop or something along those lines. But as the second movie goes and the third movie, it actually turns into an actually pretty cool prop where it's Radu's hand gripping the stone. So it's kind of like a skeleton hand holding a gem. So that's pretty fun to watch that progress.
And speaking of Radu, for the most part, the makeup in the first movie looks pretty good. But you'll notice that some of the teeth on some of the other vampires will look a little wonky.
Wonky. Yeah, the makeup is pretty good. It's definitely funny to see the characters in different lights because it's very obvious that, especially in the first movie, that the makeup was really meant for the caves and not the sunlight.
Mm-hmm. The makeup continues to improve in the second and third movie when makeup artists Wayne Toth
or Toth, I'm not sure.
And Norman Cabrera were brought on.
They actually, in Subspecies 2, there's a really fun scene where Michelle is wandering around looking for a victim because she becomes a vampire. And the makeup dudes are actually playing as the metal band in the bar that she wanders into. It's hilarious. They look awesome.
They actually do look like a real metal band.
And I don't know if we ever were able to find the credit for that song.
I don't think we could.
I don't think we could either, but it's a good metal song.
It is a good metal song.
It's not bad.
But those guys are known for a lot of movies. They worked on Hellboy, The Walking Dead, Spawn, 31, House of a Thousand Corpses, and they're even working on the upcoming Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, so the makeup is really solid in the second and third installment, and then we get to the fourth one, and it kind of falls apart. Radu slowly turns into a Smurf in the fourth movie. I don't know what they were attempting to accomplish with all of the blue, but it starts out fine and gets progressively more and more not great.
Not great. Like his prosthetics get like bigger.
Yeah, it's like they used prosthetics on his face, so like on his cheeks and his forehead and his chin, and it definitely, I don't know, they made it larger to be more dramatic or something went wrong there.
Yeah, it was a shame to see, but I mean, it was also because there was such a huge time gap in between 3 and 4.
Right.
But yeah, they obviously could not get the same guys.
Yeah, so the third movie, in between the third and fourth movie, there was about 5 years in between, so we'll talk about that a little bit later, but they weren't able to secure pretty much any of the original cast except for Radu himself. And Michelle.
Yeah. The fantastic makeup, I think the most impressive makeup is the mummy character, Radu's mom.
Yeah, so the actress that plays the mom, who in the movie series, she's literally called Mummy, and she looks like a mummy. So
yeah, she's...
Play on words, she's the mom.
She's the mom.
Mummy.
Yeah, she looks like she's made of beef jerky.
Yeah, it's gross.
She does look like a living corpse, though. I mean, it's pretty cool. And the actress Pamela Gordon, she does a really good job. She does a great job with the voice, I think. And same with Radu.
Mommy. Have you no love in your heart for your most faithful son? Curse you, I do. Leave my abode.
Yeah.
His voice is weird, and I know some people don't like it, sounding like a yell, whisper screaming is the way I say it, but it's alarming. I don't know really.
Yeah, it's definitely spooky, and it fits the makeup. It fits everything about the character. But yeah, the mummy character, she has a really terrifying scream.
Yeah.
I don't know if a scream is
I think
even,
it's a scream.
Whatever it is, a wail, a scream. But yeah, her makeup is really insane, and it looks really good. And in some of the behind the scenes stuff we were able to watch, we found out that she was essentially blind from this makeup because it was so encompassing and it completely covered her eyes, and that she had to be guided around. So that makes you appreciate it a little bit more, that you're like, that makeup's cool, but then it's like, oh, she was blind and acting as this character. So that's pretty cool.
Her character was also a really cool addition because she's one of the few characters that shows other kinds of like magic and mystery in the world. There's more than just vampires. For example, there's one scene where she doesn't throw a knife. She just levitates it. It just shoots off.
Yep.
And also, I mean, she's able to seduce the king of vampires, so.
Yeah, and that storyline is actually pretty fun, as well as that she was a sorceress that seduced Thomas Jefferson, Radu's father, the king of the vampires, but because she wanted an evil spawn. And so she was trying to create something evil. So that's pretty fun.
So if you know B-movies, you know they always have a couple things. They always have random bits of humor, something so bad it's funny, and they always seem to have random nudity.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of misplaced nudity in this movie. In the second Subspecies movie, there's definite random full frontal nudity within the first 5 minutes. It's confusing.
It's just, I guess, for a certain audience that they do that because of the B-movie aspect. But it was very out of place.
Draw in those people to watch.
Gotta draw in, yeah.
Want to see boobs.
It's right when she escapes.
Yeah.
and then it's just her crying in the shower. Just full
frontal.
Full frontal. But speaking of the comedy, they'll give you things like the character Bob.
Bob is great.
Bob, the CIA agent? I think he's a CIA, FBI. He's something like that.
I thought he was a Navy SEAL. I don't know.
He's just this...
He doesn't have much of a backstory, so...
Oh, it's not important.
It's not important at all.
No. But he's there. And he shows up with machine guns literally out of nowhere.
Out of, like, the forest to assist them. So at this point, this is in the third movie that we meet Bob. Bob is a character for literally 5 minutes. And he shows up to help them with the vampire hunting. And he brings silver bullets and machine guns and walkie-talkies and all of that stuff. And then he scales the side of the castle and gets murdered immediately by Mummy.
Just domed by that knife.
Domed. What else about Bob?
But it's actually pretty cool when he gets hit in the head. It actually looks pretty good.
It does look good.
But I mean, that's it. That's Bob. There's nothing more to say. He's gone just as fast as he showed up.
Yeah. I did like too that the actor that played Bob, whose name I don't have, he didn't actually do the climbing scene, and he kept saying that he did it as like his claim to fame, and they actually did have a stunt person that climbed the side of this literal castle. And so in all interviews, he talked about how he trained for months to do the stunt, and he did not actually do it.
Yeah, there's footage of him sitting
near the stunt dude as he climbs the wall. So that was funny.
And another interesting fact is that Michelle's sister in the movie is played by William Shatner's daughter, Melanie Shatner. Just an interesting tidbit that I did not know until
claim to fame.
Yeah, claim to fame.
I don't even think she did much acting beyond this, really.
After a movie like this, do you really need to do anything else?
I mean, it was the height of her career.
The height of her career.
In the first movie, we meet Stefan, who is Radu's half-brother, because he is not from the mummy character. He's not the son of her. I thought it was a weird way to say that. Yeah. I don't know why I said it like that. They're half-brothers.
He has a mortal mother.
He has a mortal mother, yeah. I guess I couldn't remember who his mom was. But they definitely set up Stefan's character to be the good counterpart to Radu's evil, which is really fun in the first movie, and they do have a sword fight.
Yeah.
That's epic and out of nowhere.
Yeah, Stefan kind of just shows up looking like a lost boy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Normal looking guy, normal voice, just drinks blood, you know?
Yeah, just casually.
Casually. Mm-hmm. Real, like, crushing it like a Capri Sun, but
yeah, they really made it seem like the series was going to be Radu and the subspecies Fingy boys versus the good vampire who is Stefan. But after the first movie ends, Stefan is murdered in the first 30 seconds of the second movie.
Not even 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's real quick. The second movie opens with them all waking up in their coffins and Radu impaling Stefan. So
just instantly. But that opening scene has some really cool stop motion in it with Radu.
Yeah, the makeup.
Radu putting his, I don't even know, like the veins shoot out from his neck and the spine shoots up.
One of the things that I really liked about that scene of him coming back together was it is obviously the subspecies, and they are lurking about, but they're also in liquid form, and it's like stop motion showing that he's being put back together. But there's this really cool moment where his spine reattaches to his skull.
Mm-hmm. So that shoots out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very Evil Dead.
Very much. It's fun.
Yes, but now I'm going to go on to a history nerd moment because I have to. Okay. Because this story is very much the story of Vlad the Impaler, mm-hmm. where a lot of the naming comes from, even because Vlad the Impaler was enemies with his brother.
Right.
Vlad's brother was named Radu. He fought with the Turkish army against Vlad the Impaler. And Vlad the Impaler is the inspiration for Dracula. It's mm-hmm. in his name.
Right.
Vlad Dracul III. But he was, Vlad the Impaler. He's known for driving stakes through people while they're still alive. And it was rumored that he drank their blood.
Mm-hmm. Very spooky.
Very spooky, yes. But so this story is very much taken from the story of Vlad the Impaler. And there's a lot of cool things in this movie, a lot of cool story elements that are unique and not done in many other vampire movies, like the Bloodstone.
Right.
And there's this whole, the Undead Festival?
Yeah, that's really fun, and we did some research on that. So it does take place in Romania, and part of the premise of the first movie is that the 3 college girls that are there researching the folklore, and they document the Day of the Dead festival or Dawn of the Dead, where you know more about it than I do, but there's this whole premise that if a horse won't jump over a fresh grave, that the body inside is undead.
Yeah. So then
or vampire or possessed. So
yeah, so then they have to drive a stake into mm-hmm. the person's heart.
Right.
Which is based on reality. This movie also obviously draws some inspiration from Nosferatu. The way he lurks and mm-hmm. dwells in the shadows. Radu does this a lot, and he'll walk with his arms and his giant fingers outstretched.
Yeah, he walks fingies out.
Yeah, he walks fingers first, as I like to say. Yeah. But it makes a really creepy effect. Yeah. And there's a lot of times where they impose his shadow over right. the people he's lurking. Like the main character, Michelle, was running down the streets of Bucharest, and you just see his shadow mm-hmm. over her.
Yeah, and that's a really fun aspect and idea as well, that it seems like he travels through the shadows. So as opposed to like your classic like vampire turning into a bat, you'll see Radu standing there and like with intent to go after a victim or chase Michelle, and then it's just his shadow appears where she is and then he's there. So that's actually pretty spooky.
Yeah, he never actually runs. He just appears wherever he wants and needs to be. And that's another thing they do is vampires can't walk into a church uninvited.
Yep.
Which is cool. And they're keeping to some of the
classics.
The classics.
So one of the funny things that we found when we were researching things about this movie is that a Swedish black metal band made a song about Radu, and it actually uses the film score in the music. The band is called Marduk, right?
Marduk, yes.
Marduk. So that's pretty
fucking metal.
It's pretty fucking metal. It's pretty funny to find.
The fourth movie begins with a unfortunate car crash.
This is unreal.
So yeah, this movie came out 4 or 5 years after the third, and 1 year after the spin-off Vampire Journals.
So when they decided they were going to do the fourth installment of Subspecies, surprise, surprise, Melanie Shatner wasn't available anymore. Or was
any of the other main
people?
Characters besides Michelle and
Radu. So they did the logical thing and they killed them all in a car crash that happens in the first 5 minutes.
No, that's instant. The woman finds them on the side of the road.
I guess that is the opening scene, huh?
It's the opening scene. They're just dead.
Yeah.
And they take Michelle.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yep. I mean, I'm pretty sure they didn't intend to do a fourth one.
Right. It was
away.
an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's something too, that between the third and the fourth movie, Radu has a pretty final death in the end of the third movie. And they kind of just pretended like it didn't happen when they started
No, the Fingy Boys saved them.
The Fingy Boys, yes. But how much can the Fingy Boys do?
Apparently anything.
Because
what?
He gets impaled on a tree. And
after falling... 150 feet?
And he's on fire.
Because he's in the daylight.
Yes. But shocker, he's somehow back for the fourth one.
But they did introduce a very creepy new villain.
Yep. So the premise of the fourth movie follows Michelle as she's still trying to escape Radu. But she meets a doctor that kind of says that he can cure her or he can fix her of her vampire issue. And he's a weirdo.
Yeah, a weirdo to say the least. If I was gonna explain to you the eyes of a vampire, it would be him.
Yeah.
Except he has a weird, really awful bowl cut.
Yeah, it's like a bowl cut that's parted down the middle. So think Dwight from The Office, but it's also chin length almost.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
It's a look, and he always has to have those sunglasses.
Tiny sunglasses.
Tiny sunglasses.
He definitely looks like a villain. He looks like a vampire.
Because he is a vampire. But he has created some kind of concoction that allows him to walk in the sunlight.
Right.
Which is an interesting addition. It also adds the characters. So, when we originally watched the series, we were like, wait, who the hell are all these new people? And then we realized that they had made a spin-off movie called Vampire Journals, which is actually the most movie-like.
Yeah. It doesn't feel so low budget or B-movie. It actually is very similar in feeling like Interview with a Vampire. It feels real, like something you'd actually go to the theater to see almost.
Some of the acting is a bit rough, but the main villain, the Lord Vampire Ash, he's a solid actor, and I kind of wish they made more of the Vampire Journal movies.
Yeah. And that story for the Vampire Journals was actually interesting and unique as well. And it's kind of follows like a disciple of Radu, making you think that they maybe were going to do more, but they did
I wish
not.
they just had done that in the second one.
Yeah.
If all these characters, because Radu is just basically alone. All he has is his mom, and then he's just had this army the whole time that
yeah, it's very confusing.
He's gotten killed like 2 or 3 times, and he couldn't call upon them or anything, because they all, like, these powerful vampires all have similar powers. Like Ash, he's a lord vampire. He can travel through shadow, and he could show up there rather quickly. Yeah. But they were cool additions to the 4th movie, even though that was the only one they were in.
Yeah, it definitely was confusing to see the 4th one before watching that, but...
Yeah, because we also don't know. We're like, wait, who are you? What do you do? Because he's got
and everyone's dead now?
Yeah, he's got his whole brothel gambling thing. Yeah. But it's interesting to see what... I'm very interested to see how much they will include in the prequel that is coming to be.
So that's supposed to come out next year, which would be 2021. We're really hoping that it'll be a little bit about Stefan or the Vampire King or life before Radu, because in the rest of the series we just see Radu's kind of reign of terror is how it starts and ends.
I think it's supposed to be how Radu came to be.
And that'll be fun. I'm definitely into it for more mummy.
Yeah, more mummy. More mummy, more, hopefully, King and Stefan.
Yeah, more Thomas Jefferson.
I hope they look better than that.
They probably won't.
One thing you will notice right away in this series is that Michelle looks a little different.
Full head of hair in the second movie.
Full head of hair. It's just shoulder length hair in the second movie, whereas before you notice it's pretty short.
Yeah, so this is one of the more interesting things about the series is Michelle, the main character, is a completely different actress in the second movie, and they make no mention of it. They did not attempt to make the new actress look like the previous one. Michelle in Subspecies 1 has a pixie cut. Michelle in 2 and moving forward has literal shoulder-length curly hair. It's definitely jarring, and when we watched it the first time, we thought it was a completely new character, but it's just Michelle.
Yeah, for the first 5 minutes of watching 2, I was like,
who is that?
Wait,
yeah.
What? Yeah, so Denise Duff, she does a good job, but they couldn't even given her the right haircut.
Yeah,
that's a real head scratcher. I was like, hair. But what's even funnier is that her sister looks
played by Melanie Shatner.
Melanie Shatner looks much more like the original Michelle than Denise Duff does.
Yeah, it was a weird choice.
Yeah, but
you just kind of forget what the first Michelle looks like as you move through the series.
Yeah, I remember by the time we got to we finished the 4th movie, and I was like, what did the original Michelle even look like?
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a huge deal, but if you do sit down and watch them one after the other, you're going to be like, who is that? It's still Michelle. She just has different hair.
She's just a different person. I bet they were just mad because they didn't get to show the first Michelle naked.
Yeah, that's definitely part of the contract. Full frontal only or you're out.
No. Michelle was back only. Not Michelle.
That's Melanie Shatner.
Melanie
She's
Shatner.
Butt only.
Butt only.
Yeah.
Because, the first thing you do when you escape a vampire's lair, you strip naked.
To put on a tiny coat and run barefoot through the woods.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah, so we really loved the series. The story progressively gets worse as you move through it. The effects get better. There's a lot of drooling. The whisper screaming. Radu's voice alone is really worth the watch.
And the drool.
The drool.
Oh, he's always drooling. There's actually behind the scenes video. They have ketchup bottles that they just keep squirting into his mouth. Oh, it's so unsettling. It's so gross. But it actually it helps his character. He's always hungry for blood.
So animalistic as well. It really shows how detached from humanity he is, because he's just drooling all over the place without a care in the world.
Yeah, he does not care.
So you can watch all 4 parts on Tubi, which is a very fun streaming app that we discovered. And the Vampire Journals is also on there as well.
They're relatively short, around 80 minutes. So, I mean, you can just watch the first one, and if you don't like it, you didn't waste too much time.
So on our next episode, we're going to talk about ginger snaps. So I've actually never seen this, so I'm excited.
I have seen it, and it is great, and the practical effects are amazing, so I'm very excited for you to watch it.
Yeah, so it'll be fun.
It'll be fun. And spooky.
And spooky.
And spooky.
The end.
All right. Nope. Now you got to give me your best Radu impression.
I cannot.
You got to.
You have to do yours first. Yours is actually good.
All right. Well, let me...
Because I just
We'll
laugh.
save the best bit for the end.
I laugh the whole time, so I can't even get any words out.
All right. So you know how before we mentioned that it was a whisper scream? So you start off with a whisper. And then you just gotta scream. And then he's just, yes, my fledgling.
Oh my god.
You gotta embrace the fingies.
Oh, it's horrifying. I don't think I can do it. I can't look at you and do it either.
Embrace the fingies.
I'm like, don't look at me.
Oh my gosh.
Ugh. I don't know if I can do it. Okay. So I have to whisper first?
Yeah.
Okay, so the fledgling.
You're there. Now you gotta yell it.
The fledgling. No.
My fledgling.
I tried.
Drink, my fledgling.
It's horrifying.
My fledgling, embrace me as your master, and all that is mine will be yours.